Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be learning React Native. Though in the past couple of weeks, I have been learning React Native to work at my job. Since we have started with React Native recently, I have also started learning React Native few weeks back. I'm not a pro right now, but I'm trying to learn as much as possible and to learn as much as I can. So I have decided to create few videos on this particular topic so that I can share my learnings. And also it would be helpful if you can give me certain feedbacks as to if I am doing certain things wrong or if I need to improve the structure of the code or something. Please leave that in the comment section below. And as for this particular project, I'm not using Expo. I'm using just the plain React CLI, React Native CLI. So I will be linking the URL in the description so that you can set up React Native in your respective systems. So having said that, let's jump into the project. So as you can see on the right hand side, this is what we want to create. This is what I have achieved by this particular project. So it is very basic, simple design project, which basically covers two features of React Native, that is components and props. So we will be understanding these two uh, these two properties, that is components and props. So the main idea behind React Native is that you create a certain component or a block of UI and then you reuse it multiple times with different data. So the single UI that you can see, single block of UI that you can see on the screen, which is getting reused, is components. And the method by which you are providing the data is something called props. So you will be sending props with different values, and then you are using the components again and again. So as you can see, there are in general two components that I have created in this particular project. One is this, which is having a header and a text, and see another one is this small button. As you can see, the same format is getting repeated again and again. So I've created one component which takes care of this particular UI, and I have created one component which takes care of this particular UI. Having said that, let's walk through the code so that you can have a better understanding how you can achieve this simple design. So for this, what I have done is that in the app.js, which is the entry point of your React Native project, I have this particular function which basically returns a view. So this is the parent view, and I have defined a style for this, which is page container. I have defined at the bottom all the styles for this particular screen. So you can see it is basically a style sheet, and these are the different styles that I have created. So for the parent, I am using this page container, which is having flex of one and background color of this particular hex code. So you can see I am using this at this particular line. Then inside this, we have different children views. So the first is the profile image that you can see at the top. So this particular view act as a container for this image. So you can see this is the value for this particular style is basically margin top of 50 and align items center. And inside this view, I am using a pre-built component that is provided to us by React Native. So that is image, and this is the style for this particular image component that I have created, which you can see is basically fixed height and width of 100 and 100 and radius of 50. So this radius basically gives you this circle sort of view. And this is the source that I have used for this particular image. So this is the property of this particular image, and this is the value of the URI that I have provided so that it loads an image from this given URL. You can use your own image URL over here and it will load it from that particular URL. So moving on, this is the container view for the next UI block, which is which is displaying the stats. So as I said before that I have created a component, a reusable component for these, as the format is getting repeated again and again, a header, a text, a header, a text, and another header and a text. So what I have done is that I have created a style for this particular container, which is having these properties: margin top of 20, width of 100%, flex direction of row, which basically makes all the children inside this container to be aligned in a row-wise fashion, and justify content. This property is having the value of space around, and inside this, as you can see, there is a component called social stats view. So this is not a predefined component. This is something which I have created. So the way which I have structured the project is that I have created a folder called components, and inside it I have created this uh, component called social stats view. So as you can see in the social stats view, the same format is followed. There is one function which is taking care of the UI. The second is basically a variable which is acting as a style sheet. So for this particular function, as you can see, there are two views that are getting, or basically two text which is getting repeated again and again. So what I have done is I've defined one search component which can be reused. So this is the parent view of this particular social stats view, and this is the style. Basically the container is the style I provided for this view, and then there are two texts. The first is the header, which you can see the followers, and this is the style for that particular header. As you can see, its color is set as black and font weight is set as bold, and this second is simply a text. Now you can see there is something that is passed in this particular parameter. So this is basically the props, the prop value. So if you go back to the app.js, you can see that there are two properties that I have created to be passed. The one is the text, which is the header. The second is the stats, which is basically the value. So these two properties is getting sent to this particular component, and this is the way with which you can break the props. There are other ways to also use these props. Instead of breaking them, you can simply call props and then use it like this. This will also yield the same result, as you can see. But instead of doing this, what I find more helpful is that you directly define the props here itself. You're basically breaking down the props object into different values that is required. So this is how you do that. And you directly use these values at places where you want to display the text. So for the header, we are using this text in this fashion. And for the values, the stats value, we are using the stats props in this particular fashion. So this is how you basically pass certain values to a different component. So this is the component that we have created, and these are the properties that we are sending to that particular component. And then for receiving it, we are following this particular format of breaking down properties. Breaking down props, and then we are using each of these props at the given places. That's it. It's pretty simple. So you can see I am using the same component three times, but I am providing different values in the props. So you can see the first is for followers, second is for likes, third is for following, and these are the values. If you want, you can change the values also, just to give you an idea. You can see the values will also change over here. So this is how we are taking care of this block of UI. So after the stats container, let's move on to the next component, which is this list of buttons, which is having an icon or text. So as you can see, this can also be converted into individual component and then reuse again and again with different images and text. So that is what I have done exactly. I have created a component called social media view, which is present inside this particular components folder. So if I open this, you can see this is a function which is mainly returning the view, and then there is a styles which is basically handling the style of each of these components. So in this particular component, we are taking two props, mainly the icon and name, and we are just for testing purposes, we are logging over here. If you want, you can keep it. If you don't want, you can remove it. Strictly up to you. Then we are returning a view. So you can see this is the outer view, and this is the style that I have declared for this in the style sheet. This is basically a container having these properties: margin top, margin horizontal, padding, border radius, and background color. Then inside it, we have another view component which is having the style of row container, and this is the value which is having basically a padding of weight and flex direction of row, inside which we have an image which is this icon, and for this the style is height of 30 and width of 30, and source is the icon that we have passed in as the properties. So this it might be possible that there there is an icon or there is not an icon. So that is why we are checking if the value is uh, not null, we are displaying this. Otherwise, we are just providing an empty value so that it doesn't display anything. But in our case, I think this will also work because we are always providing the icon. So in cases where you are not sure that whether the value that you have provided is actually present or not, you can use this symbol and provide the alternate value. So this is the icon URI that we are providing via the prop. Next, the another view container is basically for the text that you are seeing over here, the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And this is the style for this. It is having flex of one, justify content center, align item center to make it at the center of the view. And finally, the text component is there, which is having the style of font size of 16. And inside here, we are using the prop name that we have passed. So this is how we have created this one component, and this is the style sheet that I have used for this particular component. And from the app script, we are basically providing the icon URL and the name that you want to display. Again, the icon URL and the name that you want to display. So on and so forth. We are doing this for n number of times. And you can modify this even more by providing these, by taking these datas of icon and name as an array of object and then looping it and by providing this as the component. So instead of manually providing the component like 5 times, we can just loop the array of objects and use the data to map the component to this particular, to map the data to the component. So it's totally up to you. You can try to do so. So as I said, I'm not a pro at this React Native, but I'm trying to be. I'm trying to learn new things. I have been working with Android, the native Android, for a very long time. So as I started working on React Native, I find this is very intriguing. That is why I'm trying to learn new things, and will be making more videos like this covering few of the topics that I learn about. So please let me know if you have certain topics that you want me to cover in this particular domain. Please write in the description. And this is pretty much it. As you can see, it is pretty straightforward, a very good basic level example for you to understand how design works. So I will be providing the link of this particular project, the GitHub link in the description. If you want, you can feel free to go there and check it out. So thank you. Thank you for watching the video till the end. Please, if you like this video, please press the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you and have a nice day.